Hey guys, welcome back to the YT University. Today we're going to be talking about a hypothetical scenario. What would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds? The Earth's rotation is what creates the centrifugal force that keeps us from being flung off into space. If the Earth suddenly stopped spinning, that force would disappear, and we would all start to accelerate towards the equator at a rate of about 1,000 miles per hour. This would have a number of devastating consequences. First, there would be widespread chaos and panic as people tried to make sense of what was happening. Second, there would be massive earthquakes and tsunamis, as the Earth's crust adjusted to the sudden change in momentum. Third, the atmosphere would be thrown into disarray, causing widespread winds and storms. Here is some information about the science of what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds. Number 1. The centrifugal force. The centrifugal force is the force that pushes us away from the center of the Earth as it spins. This force is what keeps us from being flung off into space. If the Earth stopped spinning, the centrifugal force would disappear, and we would all start to accelerate towards the equator at a rate of about 1,000 miles per hour. Number 2. The earthquakes and tsunamis. The sudden change in momentum as the Earth stopped spinning would cause massive earthquakes and tsunamis. The earthquakes would be caused by the stress that would be placed on the Earth's crust as it tried to adjust to the new reality. The tsunamis would be caused by the sudden displacement of water as the Earth's crust shifted. Number 3. The atmosphere. The atmosphere would be thrown into disarray. As the Earth stopped spinning, the winds would increase in speed, and storms would become more severe. The atmosphere would also become thinner, as the centrifugal force that normally helps to keep the air in place would disappear. Number 4. The magnetic field. The Earth's magnetic field is generated by the movement of molten iron in the Earth's core. If the Earth stopped spinning, the movement of the molten iron would slow down, and the magnetic field would weaken. This would leave us vulnerable to solar radiation, which could cause health problems and damage to electronics. It's important to note that these are just some of the things that would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds. The exact effects would vary depending on where you were on the planet and how close you were to the equator. However, it's clear that such an event would be catastrophic, and it's something that we should all be aware of. Here is some information about the aftermath of what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds. The aftermath. After the 5 seconds were up, the Earth would start spinning again. But it would be a very different place. The earthquakes and tsunamis would have caused widespread damage, and the atmosphere would be in chaos. It would take years, or even decades, for the Earth to recover from such an event. Number 1. The immediate aftermath. The immediate aftermath of the Earth stopping spinning would be chaos and destruction. The earthquakes and tsunamis would cause widespread damage, and the atmosphere would be in chaos. People would be thrown around at high speeds, and many would be killed or injured. Number 2. The long-term effects. The long-term effects of the Earth stopping spinning would be even more devastating. The earthquakes and tsunamis would cause billions of dollars in damage, and it would take years or even decades to rebuild. The atmosphere would take even longer to recover, and the Earth's magnetic field would be weakened for centuries. Number 3. The possibility of extinction. The possibility of extinction cannot be ruled out. The combination of earthquakes, tsunamis, and atmospheric changes could be so severe that it could wipe out much of life on Earth. Here are some additional things that could happen in the aftermath of the Earth stopping spinning. Number 1. Power outages. The sudden stop in rotation would cause power outages all over the world. This would mean that there would be no electricity, which would make it difficult to communicate, travel, and provide essential services. Number 2. Food shortages. The disruption of agriculture and transportation would lead to food shortages. This would be especially severe in areas that are already food insecure. Number 3. Disease outbreaks. The lack of sanitation and medical care would lead to disease outbreaks. This could further complicate the recovery effort. Here is some information about the conclusion of what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds. Number 1. The possibility of extinction. The possibility of extinction cannot be ruled out. The combination of earthquakes, tsunamis, and atmospheric changes could be so severe that it could wipe out much of life on Earth. Number 2. The importance of preparedness. It's important to be prepared for the possibility of such an event. We should have plans in place to deal with the immediate aftermath, as well as the long-term effects. Number 3. The need for cooperation. The recovery effort would require cooperation on a global scale. We would need to work together to rebuild our infrastructure, restore our economy, and protect our environment. In conclusion, the Earth stopping spinning for 5 seconds would be a catastrophic event. It would cause widespread destruction and death. And it would take years, if not decades, for the world to recover. However, it's important to remember that such an event is not impossible. We should be prepared for the possibility, and we should work together to minimize the damage if it ever does happen. Here are some additional thoughts on the conclusion. Number 1. The importance of science. The study of science can help us to understand the potential consequences of the Earth stopping spinning. This knowledge can help us to be better prepared for such an event. And it can also help us to mitigate the damage if it ever does happen. Number 2. The importance of hope. Even in the face of such a disaster, it's important to have hope. We should never give up on the possibility of rebuilding our world and creating a better future. Here are some additional things that would happen if the Earth stopped spinning for 5 seconds. Number 1. The Earth's magnetic field would collapse, leaving us vulnerable to solar radiation. Number 2. The Earth's atmosphere would thin out, causing the temperature to drop drastically. Number 3. The Earth's oceans would slosh around, causing widespread flooding. It's important to note that this is just a hypothetical scenario, and it's highly unlikely that the Earth will ever stop spinning. However, it's still an interesting thought experiment to consider. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See you next time.